Good evening, everyone. I'm Rob Tarloff, and I'm owner and founder of the Paragon Financial Group. And we're so happy to have you here with us tonight with this presentation of organizing your documents, your information, and your legacy. This is the second time that we've held this workshop. We held it just about a year ago. And in fact, it was our most well-attended webinar last year. And uh, many people couldn't attend and asked if we were going to be rerunning it again. And not only are we rerunning it, but as you heard, we are recording the presentation, and it will be available on YouTube channel as soon as it goes through compliance. So if you give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen, and I have Diane joining me tonight. She works with us, one of my associates, and so when you see that little starfish appear at some point, that's Diane. She's going to be answering, or not answering, but gathering any questions questions that people have. I'll be answering those at the end of the workshop. So you'll notice down at the bottom, if sometimes you have to move your cursor down there to get it to pop up. There is a Q&A. So if you have a question, just click on that, type it in there, and at the end of the workshop, we'll be answering any questions that you may have. So let me start by sharing my screen. And okay, I think we're all set to go now. I saw one hand raised, and as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing tonight how to organize and secure your most important documents, your information, and your legacy. This is a disclosure that we're required by compliance to present, and I just want to thank Dunham Trust Company for not only providing the slides for us to use, but allowing me to edit some of the slides and put some of our own information in there. I don't know about you, but I spent so much time in the past searching not only for important documents, but not that we're going to discuss it tonight, but I mean, I spend an hour looking for a tool that I'm going to use for 5 minutes. And as I said, we're not going to talk about this tonight, but we are going to talk about documents and how hopefully you can save a lot of anxiety in the future, and also be able to get your hands on things very quickly. I know sometimes we need to get our credit card information. My niece was traveling overseas this past winter. Why she did, she left her pocketbook in her car rental. And while she was away from the car, not for too long, somebody broke into the car and took her pocketbook and her wallet. And then here she is in Europe, no passport, no credit card information. And didn't have, she called home, and her mom lived in Florida. She lives in Atlanta, and basically had no access to that information to be able to provide to her mother, so that her mother would be able to give her the information needed to call the credit card companies. Medical insurance card. I remember I needed to take Claudia, my wife, to the emergency room one night, and we got up there and she didn't have her insurance card with her. And so, we're going to talk about, how can you access that information, from the hospital, from overseas, to very quickly resolve the problems or issues that you're having at that time. So, sometimes we're searching for documents, and we're going to talk about some of those tonight, and, can't find them. We so seldom use our birth certificate, the title to our car. Maybe the last time we saw the title to our car was either when we purchased it, or when we paid it off and they mailed the title back to us, and we go to sell a car, and the person buying says, "Well, where's the title?" And all of a sudden I get that feeling in the pit of my stomach that, where is it? Where did I file that away? Sometimes you got to search for someone else's documents. Sometimes you're the power of attorney. Maybe you're the one that has, power under the medical directives, the living will. And suddenly you're put in that position because the person that made you responsible suddenly has had a health issue, or worse than that, has passed away, and now suddenly you need to step in and start working under your powers for them, and trying to get a hand on the important documents that you need sometimes is futile, and even when not futile, may take you an inordinate amount of time searching through their home trying to find these documents. So what if something happened to you? Okay, first of all, in the case of a natural disaster, say a fire, a flood, a theft, could you locate without delay all of your important documents? Would they, where you have them stored, would they survive any of these events? If something happened to you, how long would it take to find your documents? Does somebody know right away where they could locate them? And if they can't find them, how long would it take for them to replace them? I mean, most of the documents that are most important many times are government documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, passports. And those sometimes can take weeks to replace. So, having access to copies of those or the originals is critical. So, currently, I think most of us are using some kind of informal strategies. I know for years in my office, I had what we called the C drawer. It was one drawer that I filed nothing in other than things I needed to file. And so things would come in the mail. I would look at them. I'd open my C drawer, and in it goes. At home, I had a cardboard box next to the desk, and I would put the documents in there and say, when I have time, I'm going to file those. And then when I came to needing them, I would have to go through that whole box looking for something, and maybe still not being able to find it. But I think most of us have, over the years, have had some sort of file system, whether it's a file cabinet, whether it's a notebook, maybe flash drive from our computer, safe deposit box, where we've not only kept them so we can get our hands on them, but also kept them so they would be safe. Now, does your current technique secure you from a natural disaster? If you had a fire in your home, and that's where you're restoring your birth certificate, your marriage license, the deed to your house, is that in a location in your home where it would survive that fire or a flood? Would it be in a location where in a case of an emergency, a family member would be able to access that? Imagine if you could eliminate wasting time either for you or someone else searching for that information or those documents that were so important. Now, I think all of you right now on this webinar are clients, and this, as I mentioned, is being recorded, so there will be people listening to this in the future. But for our clients, we're here to be your partner and help you get that document management system set up. But we do have a format, that kind of outlines how you need to get that set up if you're a DIY and you're going to go it on your own. But what's critical about the document management system, it's not only getting it started and getting it in place, but it has to be updated. We change credit cards, or credit card companies change the credit cards on us. It seems like every 3 or 4 months, I seem to be getting a credit card that doesn't expire for 6 or 7 years. I think it all has to do with upgraded security. So you need to update the document management system on an ongoing place. So as you cancel cards, as you get new cards, as you get replacement cards, the system needs to be updated. There are basically 3 ways to store documents. I think most of us are familiar and have used in some form the hard copy, where we keep hard copies of the documents that we feel are important. But I think one thing happens over time is it gets to a point where those documents take up so much space, and the question is, how long do I need to keep these documents? And there are some documents that you need to keep until a certain event happens. There are documents you need to keep for a certain time period. There are documents that you need to keep forever. And so basically hard copy is what we just mentioned, a little bit earlier: notebooks, file drawers, C drawers, file cabinets, cardboard box. The second is digital storage, and certainly much newer than the hard copy. Some people have begun to adapt using a digital storage system. Other people have yet to begin. And the third is a combination of two. And once you go to start using digital storage, you do need to have a combination of two because there are certain things that you need to have the original. Even if you're digitally storing a copy, the original has to be somewhere because there are certain documents, because of the seal or something that's embedded in the paper, the watermark. When asked for that, they're going to want an original. So a combination of the two usually is unavoidable if you're using a digital storage system. As I mentioned, hard copy approach is file folders, safe deposit box. Something in your home should be fireproof and waterproof, so that if you are keeping some documents at home that maybe are impossible to replace, they're in a fireproof and waterproof safe. And nowadays you don't need a multi-thousand-dollar safe. There are believe it or not, they're collapsible. You can you put them together and they can withstand over 2,000 degrees, for an extended period of time, to withstand a significant fire until that fire can be kept out. Now, the hard copy approach does have disadvantages. As I mentioned, certainly one is that it's a little harder to keep it secure and safe. Second is over time, it does start taking up an awful lot of space. It's difficult. It's impossible to access when you're away from home. But certainly, even at home, it's very difficult to access the documents that are in hard copy. It just takes a lot longer, and trying to remember which file folder that you put it in can be difficult over a period of time. With the digital approach, and it should be cloud-based. Now, I use a digital approach. The actual documents are stored on my hard drive, which is encrypted, which needs special passwords to access it to get through the turning it on. But my document storage backs up immediately to the cloud. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the various cloud systems or companies that are available out there. The great thing about the digital is you can access it from anywhere. If, as I mentioned before, you're at the hospital and they say, "Where's your insurance card?" and it was home, if you scan that in addition to carrying in your wallet, there's an example of a combination of the two. But sometimes, you're cleaning out your wallet at home and looking for something, and when you put everything back in, something inadvertently gets stuck under something, behind something, and it doesn't get back in there. It happens with credit cards. It could happen with your medical insurance card. And so having unlimited access from anywhere. When my niece lost all her important credit cards, driver's license, all those things, having the ability to go online, pull the toll-free numbers that you would need to call if you lost the card, having the card number, having the expiration date, and having that three-digit code handy, that you could access it, from a cell phone or from a laptop or from a computer, can be very critical and very important and relieves an awful lot of anxiety. And the most important thing is cloud-based storage is safe from fire, water, and natural disaster. And if you're backing it up to the cloud, it also preserves those documents in the event that your computer would crash. And maybe sometimes that hard drive is not recoverable. And if that's the only place you've stored it, some people say, "Oh, I back it up to a stick." Well, the stick is fine in terms of computer crash. However, the stick is not great in terms of natural disaster. If you're storing that disk in the same place as your hard copies in your laptop or your desktop, that's going to be destroyed in the same event that destroyed the other. And the other problem with a stick is that you have to be religious in backing it up. The great thing about cloud-based storage is it backs up, almost instantaneously. You don't have to go and say, hit back up and back it up. It's just happening all of the time. Now, people say, well, one of the disadvantages of digital is that there's a possible nominal fee. Well, I will tell you, it's a very nominal fee. First of all, most of the cloud-based, Apple, iCloud, Google Drive, iCloud or iDrive, Google Drive, they give you a pretty significant amount of storage space at no cost. And you can buy a significant amount of extra storage space for under $100 a year. And so that cost, I think, in terms of the time savings, the anxiety is a nominal cost. I think also, setting, when the documents come in and scanning them, probably takes a little more time than opening up the file drawer, locating the file you want to drop it into, but not that much. And I will tell you, when I, scan my documents and shred them, getting rid of that paper is so critical. And the ability to retrieve a document when it's digitally stored is much easier than trying to figure out where you put it in your file cabinet. And so you can search by the title of the document, what you named it. You can even search by content. If the word is in a document, it's going to show up. And so that digital approach makes it very easy to retrieve those documents, from in there. The other thing is that the digital approach does not take up a lot of space in your house. As over the years, as you accumulate documents, whether it's bank statements, credit card statements, tax returns, as you accumulate those files get very, very big. And also, when you set up the files, with a digital approach, you can have any number of folders, subfolders, where you're kind of limited by the size of your Pendaflex hanging folder, or you're limited by you may use a Pendaflex folder for the major folder and then have, manila folders in between. You may have dividers within the manila folders separating out accounts and things like that. But you're constantly having to create new subfolders, new folders, and maybe you're doing calendar year, so every year you got to create all new folders at the end of the year. But as I said, most people use a combination of both. Everybody that is digital should be using a combination of both, because there are documents that need to be kept in a hard copy. And people often say to me, okay, well, I don't know anything about setting up a digital. Well, as I said, we're here to help. But if you're doing it yourself, basically you set up your cloud storage very much like you set up your file cabinet. You create folders. You may create subfolders. Like, for instance, you may create a file drawer for all your home stuff. You may have a file drawer for all your business stuff. And within that, you may hang hanging Pendaflex folders. You may have one that basically house expenses. And then inside that folder, you may have another one for utilities. And inside that one, you may have another, you may divide that up with dividers between cable, cell phone, water, electricity. And so, as I said, you set up the file room online digitally, just like you would set up your file cabinet. You're just not using hard copies of the folder. You basically just create folders within folders within folders, which helps you very quickly retrieve those things. Now, if you decide whether you're going digital or whether you're going to keep your old hard copy there are certain things you need to take an inventory of. You need to know which important documents you need to keep. Once you set up the system, you're never going to have to search again for those important documents. So it's going to give you a tremendous amount of peace of mind in the event of an emergency or legacy issues, making it very easy for your heirs or your power of attorney if you should become incapacitated for a temporary period or a longer period of time, to basically step in your shoes and be able to find everything. In the past, it was much easier trying to find things like invoices. If I had to take over, when I had to take over from my father wasn't digital. He wasn't paperless. All I had to do was wait for the mail to come in for a month, and I knew what had to be paid because the bills came in. Today, if you're paperless, you're not getting bills in the mailbox. So it's very difficult for your heirs to be able to look and say, what needs to be paid and when does it need to be paid? Also, who do I contact? Who are the doctors? What are their phone numbers? What relatives need to be located and contacted? If you passed away, who's the executor and trustee? What's their contact information? If you're still working, contacting the employer, who should be contacted and how can they be contacted? And then your important advisors, the attorney, the CPA, the investment advisor, financial advisor, your life insurance agent, your property and casualty agent. Having all this stuff in a single place that somebody can go to that book and very quickly call the property and casualty, say, is the homeowner's insurance up to date? Is there any premiums due? How is it being paid? When's it due again? Is really important. Everyday information, passwords, credit cards, medical insurance, a copy of your driver's license. I finally scanned my driver's license onto my phone because I always thought, what happens if, I inadvertently, I was getting on the plane. I had to present my driver's license. In the rush to get through TSA, get to the screener, I dropped it into my briefcase, and then I forgot to put it back in my wallet, and I'm out driving the next day without my driver's license. Well, at least if I had it on my phone, I would be able to show it to a police officer if I got pulled over to prove that I do have a driver's license. It would have all the important information on there. Passwords. If somebody that needs to take over for you doesn't have your passwords, they're not going to be able to access anything. So being able to have a secure way of handling your passwords that somebody could have access to later, if need be. I mean, they wouldn't have it, you wouldn't provide it to them to take home and be able to access your accounts from their computer. But somewhere, if they came into your house, in one location is a list of all the websites, all the passwords that you regularly visit to pay bills and things like that. You may want somebody to take down your Facebook account. I see Facebook accounts that I'm getting wish John a happy birthday, and John passed away 7 years ago, and people are still going on when that comes on and posting happy birthday wishes to somebody that's passed away. Documents that are seldom used, things like a birth certificate, real estate deeds, veterans papers, vehicle titles. These are things that can be kept in a safe deposit box. Because you don't need ready access to them. Make copies and scan your copies in and have them stored digitally, but have the original stored offsite in a secure location. I'll be sharing with you, at the end, towards the end of the workshop, a document grid, which we'll be sending out to everybody in attendance here, that basically, kind of tells you how to, tells you how to set up the file system and how long documents should be kept, where they have to be kept. Other documents that you really need to have on hand so either you or somebody can access is your employee benefit book, loan statements, insurance policies, warranties. I will tell you with warranties, I have a terrible history with warranties. I buy them. The equipment goes bad, and I can't find either the warranty or the sales receipt that I needed. I know I have it. I just can't find it. Well, since I've been digitally scanning the warranty and the sales slip into the same document as soon as they come in, I'm able to locate those very quickly. In the past, I usually found them. It may have taken me a long time to find them. And usually I find them 2 or 3 days after the warranty expires, which does me absolutely no good. And so part of your document management system is filing away those warranties and those sales receipts so you can very quickly access them in the event that the equipment that the warranty is backing fails. Other documents that others may need to find, living will, medical powers of attorney, financial powers of attorney, burial instructions. Today, I think every time you go to a doctor's office or you go to the hospital, they ask, do you have a living will? Do you have medical powers of attorney? You say yes. And people say yes, whether they have them or not, because they never ask for them. They just, do you have them? And The question is, the more importantly, if you have them, do you know where to find them? And do the people that need to use them, do they know where to find them? You know, having it in your bottom desk drawer and nobody knowing that it's in there, or a box in your closet, is not going to help when somebody needs to make a quick decision about your medical care. So the document management system is not only for you to locate things, but for somebody that has to step into your place, being able to also locate it too. Now, some of the things that we don't really think of, that you may want others to find, different family legacy documents, photos and videos. I can't tell you how often we, especially when my brothers and sisters and I get together, going through old photos and talking about, experiences and people and things. And, in the past, and still to some extent today, when grandma died, when your mom died, when your dad died, when you cleaned out their house, there were usually photo albums. There were boxes with photos that, basically you retrieved and you kept. Certainly today, that doesn't happen often anymore, and probably more often than not, it doesn't, because everybody has their photos on their phone. And we don't use, cameras where we're printing off a lot of photos anymore. And does somebody know where to find them? Does somebody have the passwords to be able to find them? I know with mine, they're on the phone, but I also automatically have them backed up to a system called IBI. And so when I'm taking photos and they're on my phone, they're automatically backing up to the cloud. So if I lost my photos on my phone, we'll be very quickly able to retrieve those. Letters and memoirs. In our document management system, we have things in there like letters, messages to the future. I mean, what are you proud of? What organizations do you belong to? Were you a Rotarian? Were you an ELK? What charitable organizations did you work with? Which ones did you support financially? Recipes and family traditions. I'll tell you a very short story about my family. I can remember my grandmothers, both on my father's side and my mom's side, had different special recipes. A lot of them were holiday recipes. My father's mother made a noodle pudding that we had almost at every special event. My grandmother on my mother's side, she made a fruitcake that was like no other fruitcake. It wasn't like the stuff that you bought in the store or online with the citron and candy type of fruit in it. I mean, she had actual dates and nuts and raisins and booze in that fruitcake, and she made a great shortcake. It was like a large cookie. Was about 1 inch thick. And so before my grandmother died, my father's mother, I asked her for the recipe of the noodle pudding, and she gave it to me. When my Nana died, my mother and my sister cleaned out her house. And after, I said to her, "Oh, by the way, can I have Nana's fruitcake and shortcake recipe?" And they both kind of looked at each other and all of a sudden said, "Oh my God, we must have thrown it out." And so here we are many years later. Every holiday we have grandma's noodle pudding, and we do not have Nana's fruitcake and shortcake. And so you may want to leave the recipes in your document manager, the ones that people you may not want to share before you die because it's your recipe, but that you want others to be able to pass on and remember, hey, this was mom's favorite recipe, and other family traditions. If you're into art and music, if you're a singer, maybe record yourself and leave a CD in your legacy box. If you're a musician, record yourself playing and leave that in there for future generations to be able to enjoy. Now, let me just after this, I'm going to share. I want to wait to the end to share because when I share, I can't get back into the PowerPoint presentation. But basically, for those of you that are clients, we could certainly meet and help you set up this document management system, including digitally, to get that set up and started. But it's important, create a method and system. The guide that we have will guide you through the necessary steps of doing that. It will enable you to purge and shred unnecessary documents, so that if there are documents that you say you have to keep for the life of your investment, You have those stored digitally. You don't need, I mean, I have clients that come in with suitcases when I ask them to bring in all their statements. And it allows you to, the system, keep it updated. And most importantly, as you're setting this up, we should have a trusted family member, the person most likely that would have to step in place in terms of power of attorney, and somebody in addition to your spouse, because chances are one of you is going to need the next generation to handle it. Or if both husband and wife die at a very old age, the surviving spouse may not be in a position to handle all that needs to be handled, or at least by themselves. So, that person that's going to be responsible as your executor or your trustee or your power of attorney, or, power over your living will, or your healthcare director, should be part of setting up this system, or at least at the end of the system, be not only aware that it exists, but where's the guide going to be kept that they're going to need to access. And again, keep a copy of the guide, in your home, and a copy digitally, or a copy in the safe deposit box. So if it gets destroyed, for instance, God forbid you were to die in a fire at home, and that document may die in that fire with you. So have that in another location, and where it is accessible. As I did mention, we will be sending out a copy of that document grid to everybody in attendance tonight. But I know there will be some people in the future that will be viewing this webinar through our YouTube channel. And so basically, we would be happy to send out a grid to you. Just visit our website at paragonfinancial-us.com, or over there is a QR code that will take you to our website. And once you get in there, just hit the Contact Us button in the upper grid if you're on a desktop, or if you're on a tablet or a phone. There's the three little, looks like a hamburger up there in the upper left-hand corner. Bring that down, hit Contact Us, and just in the email, give us your email address and say, please send me your document grid, and we'll be very happy to send that out. Okay, terrific. Okay, well, this is a 9-page document. The actual document manager is actually 55 pages. And I'll discuss some of the things that are in there. But basically, the document manager kind of follows along with the grid, and it kind of follows along on how you have to set up your file system. But basically, these are some of the contacts that you should make sure that you have in your system, in terms of where they're stored. Again, online, phone, home, safe. With some of them, you're going to see later on with the actual documents, other places like safe deposit box. When should you update these things is in the grid. And who should have a copy? So basically, with your doctors, the names and addresses of your doctors, who should have a copy of those? Your prescriptions. Where can somebody find a copy of that? Well, they can find a copy of it in the document management book, because there's a page in there, and we can add other pages if you have too many prescriptions to fit in the spot we have dedicated there. So contacts. Moving on to the next page. Other information such as website passwords, phone and computer passwords. Does no good if somebody can't access your, when you pass, or when you're, have health issues. They need to be able to find those passwords. Having the password on the computer doesn't usually help much to get into the computer, but things like your credit cards, the credit card number, the phone number, where to call, driver's license, warranties, medical insurance cards, and/or Medicare cards. I know I needed to locate my Medicare card a while back, and because I was on Medicare Advantage, I didn't need it. When I needed to go find it, I couldn't find it. And so now I do have a copy of my Medicare digitally stored. Now, these are documents that you can never throw away. And in the document management book, when you list those documents and where they are, it kind of follows this format. So you can see here on the left-hand side are the documents, the storage choices down the center column, and everybody who should have a copy of those documents. Moving on to the next page, we're now looking at documents that you may need occasionally. And basically, you'll see a list of those down the title and the best places to keep those. When do you need to update them? When can you purge and shred a document? And who should have a copy of those documents? These are still ongoing documents that you may need occasionally. As we move here, these are documents that someone else may need if something happens to you. So list of those documents, storage choices, same as on the other pages, when to shred. Moving on to the following page. These are documents that you need to discuss annually. So in other words, basically, if you bought equipment during the year, have you put those warranties in your document storage system so they can easily be found, and then other items that at least annually you need to review. And with some of those, you can see in terms of how long you need to keep them. On the prior pages, you may be purged once a year. So if you have certain documents that need to be kept 3 years, after 3 years, you can purge the oldest year, or 7 years, or 11 years. Those can be purged. Documents in terms of tickler notification, when to discuss 3 months before expiration. Basically, you need to, when that renews, you need to get the new information in. Well, one thing with passports, from personal experience, or at least my wife's personal experience last year, most of us believe, unless we've travel agent tells us else, differently, or unless we had a bad experience as my wife did, we think that our passports are good until the expiration date. They are not, or not always, and very seldomly are they good to the end of the expiration date. There are some countries that will let you in as long as the passport doesn't expire before your scheduled departure date. But most countries have a 3-month expiration date. That if your passport expires within 3 months of your travel, they will not let you into that country. There are a couple of countries, I think Austria is one of them, that it's 6 months. But last year, I dropped my wife off at the airport. She was going to the Netherlands, and I got down the road maybe 10 minutes, and she said, "Just pull over. You may have to come back and get me." And what happened? She was traveling in April. Her passport expired May 30th. She was going in April and coming back in April. And her passport didn't expire until June 30th. But she could not travel because with the Netherlands, your passport expiration date has to be 3 months from when you enter the country. And so basically she had to cancel her trip. She wasn't able to go and had to wait until she got her new passport in the mail to reschedule that trip. There are other documents you simply need to discuss when life events take place, divorce, marriage, changing over medical plans, either because you changed or maybe at work they changed companies. And so you need to make changes in your document manager, or you change jobs and now you suddenly have a new card. And as I mentioned, our document management system, as you can see over here, is 55 pages. Doesn't mean you have to fill in 55 pages, and don't plan on saying we're going to spend a couple hours on a Saturday. Do a little bit at a time, because it's going to take more than a couple hours when you initially start filling all that information in. But even, things like on this page, which is burial instructions, have you made advanced arrangements? Do you want to wake? Do you want services? What funeral home do you want to use if you've already made arrangements, or if you haven't? Who's going to be in charge of the funeral? And then other information is in terms, or any donations in lieu of flowers. Who do you want those to go to? If you're a veteran, any special requests, and all this would be in the document book, including who are the people you want contacted before the funeral, and who are the people you want contacted after the funeral. What's going to happen to your pets? Is there particular music that you want played? Who do you want to deliver the eulogy? Um, so they're in the document management book. As we said, the title of this workshop is how to manage your documents, your information, and your legacy. So the things that you want to make sure people remember you by. There's also the start of a family tree here. Um, you know, many of us can't go back too many generations. Certainly, with some of these online services, you can, find out a lot about your family tree. But here's a way that basically, you can go back to in this document, Benjamin, go back to your grandparents and then put everything in who married who, and then it can be continually updated by future generations so that that family tree, you know, uh, can go on and on and on and, be remembered by many, many future generations there. So let me stop the share and let me just, uh, Diane, did any questions come in during the workshop?
One question. So will everybody accept these documentations on digital form? Like you mentioned, your driver's license. Will everybody accept that, or is it just to go to, some of these just go to, so you have the numbers available?
Yeah, there's a couple places you would be able to use a driver's license in your phone. There's a lot of places that definitely you can't. If you're trying to get on an airplane, with your driver's license on your phone, you probably can because you can get on an airplane without your driver's license. They take you into a side room. They ask you, well, what do you have? Do you have anything on you that shows an address? Do you have anything on you? And they can actually put things in the computer. So I don't want to say that, you can't get on with a digital copy of your license, but because they scan that thing looking for the watermarks, don't plan on leaving your driver's license at home because you have it on your phone. But if you're in a store and you give a check and they want your driver's license, all they're looking for on that driver's license is the driver's license number and maybe the expiration date. If you're buying liquor, beer or wine at Whole Foods, or, well, depending on which state you live in, if there's a beer and wine. But if you're buying at a liquor store, if you yeah they will accept because all they're looking for is a picture of you with your birthday. So as long as they're not looking for that watermark, there are many places where you can use a digital driver's license. I would say with a passport, probably maybe the same places that you could use the digital, where you could use the digital driver's license, yes. But there are certain things that you probably always will need at some point in time to hard copy. Birth certificates, rarely do, if you have to send in a birth certificate, like to get a new passport, either because you've never had one or it's expiring, you're probably not going to use that. Usually things like social security cards, usually, most places you can use a digital, copy, but you so rarely need that when you need it, it's almost impossible to find it. So I say leave the original in a safe deposit box and digitally scan it for your records, as most places will accept that. Any other questions?
I did want to add one little thing. You mentioned my mom, as you know, has Alzheimer's. I've had to bring her to doctor's offices. I've had to bring her to the hospital. I have the power of attorney and her healthcare directive on my phone. And everywhere I go, they want to see it. So rather than walking around with a stack of papers, I'm able to just show them what's on my phone, and it's easily accessible, and they accept it, and it makes it so much easier. I didn't have it at first, but what a big difference it has made.
That's good. Thanks for sharing that, because that is so critical that if the person that's bringing to the hospital is the person with the directive, having that with them. And sometimes when you have to bring somebody to the hospital in an emergency, you don't think I gotta grab that folder with all those papers in it. And so therefore you're keeping it in your car, which risk of theft, risk of some other sort of damage. So having that thing stored digitally, so you can just you know take your current phone, a future phone, and even if you're storing it, if you're storing it in say with Google Drive or iDrive, you can access that from any device. Not just your own phone. So having those things digitally stored, can be accessed from any electronic device, because it's just going on the web and putting in your username and password to be able to access that. And always, I always, in cases where systems are using two-step verification, always use, if they give you the option, and most do, always choose both email and phone, because there were many times where you may not have your phone with you, or somebody else is trying to access it. You've shared, they have access to your password and your phone, and your password, but they don't have your phone with them, and the code is going to their phone. So always have your backup to be able to also send it to to an email that you can access from somebody else's phone. If you don't happen to have your phone, or if somebody else doesn't, that they have access to your email account, so that in the event, and the older we get, the more we really, the more we don't want to share that information sometimes, but the more we need to share that information, and we need to share it when we're still of sound mind to do it, because at some point we may not want to do that, or be able to do that. And so you do need to plan ahead with these things, and be able to have a trusted family member or trusted friend, whoever it is, to be able to share the access to where they can gain access, not necessarily share the access. But there are systems, like all of our clients, we offer a service called Calendly. And Calendly is a service that not only will alert you about unusual activity on your accounts, but you're able to share that with someone else, so
Careful.
that, careful.
The careful system, yeah.
Yeah, the careful system. And that's available. It is a little different than some of the other identity thefts ones, in that it is designed specifically, although anybody could use it, it is really designed specifically for seniors that are concerned that as they get older, they need somebody else to be aware, of some of the things that may be happening, and maybe things like charitable contributions. I mean, they must buy lists of people over 75 and just keep calling them up. Not that the charities are, necessarily bad, but I know one year when I looked at my father's, was helping my father with his tax return. I mean, he donated to one very good charity 7 times. And I said, Dad, you 7? He says, oh, I didn't realize it would have been that short a period ago. They called up and said, hey, you've helped us out in the past. He said, I support the charity. Well, they were calling him like every other month. And he said, yeah, put me down for $100. Just, and so, this careful system is excellent in not only monitoring unusual activity for you, but also alerting others if they say unusual activity. And you can subscribe, individually. I think it's about $25 a month. As I said, I think everybody on this call is a client, so we provide that to our clients at no cost. So certainly, if anybody, we have sent out emails, but if anybody is not currently enrolled, just reach out to me, and we'll send you out a link to register for that. Any other questions, Diane?
Actually, no, but I did want to put a little sidebar on what I had mentioned about the information on your phone regarding the power of attorney and everything. And I think it's a really good idea is for yourself, your significant other, even your parents, like my mother, is to have a list of your current medications with you available at all time. So if there's an emergency and they say, what medications, are you on? Your spouse, whatever, even your children, people are often in a frantic moment, and usually they know it, and all of a sudden they don't know it. So that's also something that they should, consider.
Yeah, excellent point. Okay, well, terrific. I guess there's no more questions in the queue. Diane, thanks so much for sharing your experiences. because I think, many of us have gone through things that others can certainly learn from. And certainly in terms of using our document management system, we have actually built that system over the last couple of years, or at least added to it based on feedback from many of the people that have been using it. Say, oh, I wish I had a section for this or a section from that. And we've added those sections on those suggestions. So feel free to reach out to us. And as I said, everybody on this call, we will be sending that out to you. And if you need assistance, either reach out to me now or when we see each other later in the, over the next year, just bring it with you and we'll help you set that thing up and get it going for you. So I hope you got value out of this. We are recording it. It will be on our YouTube channel, which can be either accessed, you can access that from our website. There is a drop-down tab with the YouTube channel, and there's another one with the events that we'll have once it's available, you can go into the events tab. You'll see this workshop webinar on there, and there will be a button right next to it to listen to the recording. So thanks so much for being with you, and we'll see all of you soon. Thank you. Have a good night.